the importance of taking up space. Like, you are allowed, like, your body, you are allowed to take up space. You are here for a reason, right? And so I think you know, this goes along with like wanting to normalize things that, you know, maybe are seen as embarrassing, but being yourself and standing up to people who are fake, or standing up to people who have hurt you in a mature way. You know, that doesn't mean go yell at somebody, because two wrongs don't make a right.
Sure.
But being able to, you know, address conflict and being able to confront people is huge.
Welcome to the Thriving in the Middle podcast. Believe it or not, I chose to spend the rest of my life in middle school. I've been teaching for over 19 years, and my primary goal can be boiled down into one task: developing human potential. My three favorite educational words are autonomy, agency, and authenticity. There is nothing more authentic than hearing about the realities of middle and high school life directly from the students who have lived through it. Whether you're a parent looking for perspective, a teacher trying to better understand your students, or a student looking for some guidance, this podcast has something for everyone. The goal is to not only help you survive, but thrive during this complicated time of life. Ready? Let's thrive together. Today, we're joined by Chloe Thatcher. Chloe is a current senior at GHS in the graduating class of 2025. I had the distinct pleasure of having Chloe in my ELA class just 5 short years ago. Chloe is currently juggling her final semester as a senior and all of her other extracurricular activities, which we'll get into later. I know how hectic it can be, even though it was a long time ago for me, but I see all the other students juggling so many things, and so I'm so grateful for you taking a pause and sitting down to talk today. Hi, Chloe.
Hi. Yes, it has been 5 short years, or long years if we're talking academically.
Yeah.
But I am excited to be back, and I'm excited about questions, to hear what questions you have for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what do they say? The days are long and the years are short.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds right.
As a parent, I feel that a lot.
Yeah.
It feels really, and then I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's 13. I'm like, how did that happen? Yeah, it's wild.
And then, I mean, I'm turning 19 in 3 months.
Right.
No,
and think about
crazy.
what you've done, like even accomplishment-wise, like how much you've crammed into 5 years. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So we'll jump right in. I have a magical time machine. It allows us to go back in time. And I want to go back to when you discovered that you love to sing.
Yeah.
Like everyone does, you tried a whole bunch of different extracurriculars. You tried dancing and gymnastics and soccer and horseback riding and all the things. But when you found singing, it just something clicked and you kind of knew it was your thing. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that journey and why like singing felt different. Like what was it about that, and how did you know that was the thing you kind of wanted to hold on to?
Right. Yeah. So if I'm being completely honest, I didn't even realize singing was, quote, my thing until, I mean, at least intermediate school. We're talking 6th grade, maybe 5th grade.
Is that a fair, it's your thing? I could say
yeah,
that?
Yeah,
That's
I'd say
totally
so. It's
accurate.
my thing.
It's one of your...
When people ask what I do, I sing.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, cool.
I actually have a distinct memory. I was walking at the elementary school park with my mom, and we were just kind of talking about what I do for fun, hobbies, I guess. And my mom mentioned, she's like, well, honey, you're a really good singer. And I'm like, I mean, all I'm doing is I'm just speaking in longer phrases and I'm speaking on a pitch, right? I mean, of course, I didn't use those words at the time, but I had never processed that this wasn't something people could just do. Because, I mean, I've been singing Frozen since I was 6 years old. There are videos of me singing Bruno Mars when I was really young.
Maybe you can send that to us.
I might have to turn a little Bruno Mars. I mean, I just didn't realize that wasn't something people could do. And after that, I said, hey, Mom, can you put me in lessons? Now, this was pretty nerve-wracking because I didn't really know what that would entitle. I mean, I talked to my dad. He was like, she'll probably teach you how to breathe, how to sing louder, maybe find your voice. But other than that, I was pretty in the dark. Yeah. And to be honest, it stayed that way. For the first month or two, I felt nervous before going to my lessons. And then she told me I had a recital coming up. I mean, I just sang. What did I sing?
So it wasn't instant. Like even then, it wasn't like, oh, this is my thing. It was still like, this is kind of a nervous thing I'm trying to do.
It was.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it didn't click. Like there wasn't a specific moment.
Right.
But I mean, after that first recital, I think I sang Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. That was my first like not big solo. The audience was maybe 20 people at the
It's
church.
huge, though, right?
But
It's the
it
first
was,
one. Yeah.
right, for a little 7th grader.
Yeah.
And so I sang that, and the relief I felt afterwards was so worth it. It made all the nervousness worth it. And I guess any advice I would have is just see it through. If you're practicing a craft, picking up something new, it will always be nerve-wracking because we're afraid of the unknown, right? So once we get into that and we're like, oh, okay, well, it's not getting any better, just give it a few more months, because I was thinking about quitting. Like, I had this recital coming up and I honestly was like, Mom, I don't want to do it. I'm nervous. What if I mess up, forget the lyrics, you know? And I think I got into this mindset of thinking the audience is a bunch of monsters, but they're not really. They're, no matter if you voice crack or you mess up the lyrics, they just want to hear you sing, and they want to appreciate your craft, right? Because that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give you the time of day just to critique your voice. So I think if you can remember just to see things through, and that being yourself and not worrying about how people are going to judge you, that is what matters, and that's what true art is.
Yeah, there's two interesting things in there that I wanted to highlight. The first is this idea that we don't always have a perception, like even at a young age, they don't have a perception of like the world or what good sounds like. And so even though you had a good voice, you hadn't perceived like through the eyes of a child, like, oh, I have a good voice. And it took your mom, and how profound this as a parent makes me so nervous. Like, these little moments and little things that you say and how that can really send someone off in a direction. Like telling my son, like, wow, you're really good at, or you really worked hard and that sounds great. And then the second is that it's okay to maybe to give up on something, but not until you've tried it. So you were scared of that recital, and it would have been easy to say, I'm just not going to do it, but you saw it through. And then on the other side of that, you found something that you loved. Yeah.
And I think that singing I did as a child was the most raw and true form of art, just kind of not practicing because I felt like I needed to adjust my vowels or focus on technique at this moment, or mark up my music really I mean, I didn't even have music. I couldn't read it back then, because I would just sing because it made me happy, you know. I'd sing whatever songs we heard at school, whatever we learned in church, and that just made me happy,
there's
know?
Something so there's something intrinsic there too, because there are also lots of kids who don't sing like that, right? Like, there was something about you that loved singing before you even knew that you loved singing, because you were doing it. We have these really good friends, and their daughter, I think, is maybe a 4th grader, and wow, like, can she sing? But she's very self-conscious, like won't sing around other people. So yeah, and helping to cultivate that situation where you found the confidence to get on stage, and you were surrounded by the right people to where that was a positive experience. And then you know, look at you now and carrying that forward into something that you can definitely say that you loved. And
that's the hardest part, is the self-confidence, just getting up on that stage. It's so intimidating, but
man, yeah. And I mean, I still feel that. I still feel that if I present in front of a group of teachers, if I it gets easier, and I'm 42 now, and so I know that, like, oh, it's going to be okay. But I think you can mix the emotion of fear and excitement, and if you can try to, like, oh, this is just excitement, and it feels like fear, but it's actually because this is a cool opportunity, and I want to do well. And these great point that you said, when you look out and you realize, like, none of these people want to see me fail. Like, they actually are here to support me and want to see me succeed and win. And even if you messed up a little bit, they probably won't even know, and they'll definitely forgive you. So yeah, that's good advice for sure. All right. So I happen to live with someone, my wife, who rarely, if ever, will sing out loud. I sing all the time. I'm not a great singer, but same, me and my dad have, like, driven across the country in a motorhome going racing, and he and I were like, we would have the radio blaring, and he and I were always singing. And I sing around my boys. But getting on stage and singing can be intimidating for sure. I have my youngest son is a drummer, and so he had his first gig, we'll call it, at the lot. So cool. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. And I'm impressed, because he it doesn't seem like he perceives fear or that it's a nervous thing for him. So I'm like, wow, that's really cool. But I know that's not a normal situation. And so I'm wondering, you've been on stage a lot, and so what have you found have been the best? You know, you said earlier, you got to show up and just, like, go for it. But then how do you and what have you found gets you the ability to show up and go for it, to get past those nerves?
Yeah. That's the thing, is nerves are inevitable, right? And you can't get rid of them. What you can do is manage them. And of course, for singing, that's hard because when you get nervous, what happens? Your mouth goes dry, shaky voice, you can't breathe. These are all things that we need to sing, right?
Yeah.
So technically speaking, in my mind, the best way to prevent nervousness is to be prepared, right? I actually, so as you know, I played Elle Woods in a production of Junior, Legally Blonde, my 7th grade year, and it was probably 15 minutes before opening night, and I wasn't nervous at all. This honestly may be the only time I haven't been nervous because I had worked so hard on this, practicing lines every night, running my music every night. All I wanted to do was go up on that stage and show people what I had done, show people the hard work I had put in, and I was just excited. But, so sometimes I think, okay, if I don't want to be nervous, then I just got to work really hard.
Yeah.
But, just this past January, I had solo and ensemble, and I sang my piece. I still got a 1 and everything, but I was pretty nervous for it. I felt like I had worked hard, but I think sometimes we just, we get in our head about this stuff, and especially in front of a judge, which is what solo and ensemble is we're thinking, okay, now these people are listening to my technique.
They're literally there to critique.
Yes,
and
exactly, and that's scary.
Different.
But then again, we have to remember that they've been doing this for long enough that they can tell if you have it, if you don't. You know, they can be like, okay, that issue was probably due to nerves or something that she couldn't control.
So just this idea that the idea that you can prepare for something and using that preparation to combat your nerves is like the best approach.
So I think there's no point in looking back on things that maybe you were nervous for that you couldn't control.
Sure.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. So the hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah.
And so we could spend all day looking backwards when life actually happens when we start doing the looking forwards and the moving ahead. So there is a moment of, I think, looking back to go, what could I have learned from this thing? But dwelling on things that you couldn't control, to your point, that fantastic advice. There's no value in that.
Yeah.
So being prepared, and I can tell you as a teacher, if I show up to school and I don't have enough time to make sure that I have my ducks in a row for the class that's coming in, it is like the worst feeling. And so I over prepare, and then I'm excited for my day because it's just now going to unravel, and I just get to be present. So that's fantastic advice for sure.
Yes. What you mentioned, being present, is huge. Like, honestly, that was one of my big goals for 2025 is being present, being more mindful. Because a lot of that is with that preparedness comes overthinking. It comes like, oh shoot, do I need to work on this? And then you end up working on it for an extra hour when you realize you would have been fine. And so, finding that balance of, I'm going to take a break now. I'm going to prepare for an hour, right? And then take a break and then clear my mind, go on a walk or something. And I know you asked a little bit about stress somewhere down the line. And that's like something I mentioned there was just, taking mindful breaks and feeling like you're in the moment. My mom, being the school counselor, she has this tool. It's like, name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can smell, and just tactics like that will help nerves so much.
Yeah, and so that's a sensory activity, right? So that you start noticing the things around you to make you grounded in the room, to sort of stop you from fixating or spiraling, in an unhealthy way. I was curious on your all the different groups and things that you've been singing in. Are there any like standout moments or like best memories, or and it could be that, and it could also be advice to people who are thinking about joining some of these, the ACE acapellas and all these opportunities they have when they go to the high school. Any advice that way as well?
I think if you are interested in it, you absolutely should go for it. I mean, you really kind of never know what can happen. Honestly, I was trying to predict the cast list for this past musical, which actually May 2nd and 3rd, Descendants musical, first rehearsal starts tonight, so I'm very excited about
they don't take a break though either, right? Because the last performance was 2 weekends ago. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was fairly recent.
Right.
Yeah.
We had auditions the day after strike, which strike is where we tear the whole set down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was very quick turnaround time, but yeah, so I'm very excited about that. If you want to go for something like that, you absolutely should, because like I said, I was trying to predict the cast list. I was so far off. You never know what can happen. And I mean, I think the people they cast were great. Like, they made all such good choices, and you just need to go out there and show them what you can do, right? Because they're not looking to berate you or knock you down.
Right.
They want you on their team.
Yep.
And that goes along with the nervousness, It's like you just got to go up there and kind of be yourself and accept this is what my voice sounds like, and I'm going to show it to them. And if maybe they think I would do better in a different club or organization, then they'll place you there because they want what you want.
Yeah, and I guess it goes back to your original statement of like just show up, like push through, and instead of like telling yourself that you can't do it or you're not right for the part, like let someone else make that decision. And at times they're gonna say you are right for the part or you're not right for the part. But putting yourself out there, that's great advice for sure.
And half the time it's not a projection of you, it's just there's so many puzzle pieces that come into play. I mean, maybe they just have too many people this year and they say, I'm sorry, we got to prioritize seniors or something, and a lot of life is just jumping through hoops and getting the things. Actually, there was a student who, phenomenal singer, but just things weren't getting turned in on time, and that kind of put a damper on their progress in the group. And so a lot of it just has to do with
just like doing the rep, like showing up, doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just, I don't know how to describe that, but I think
Yeah, and kind of back to your original point of like it being over prepared and like doing all the work.
It's finding that balance between not working too hard but still putting in the effort.
Well, and I was thinking about that earlier when you said the being present part. Being present also because you work so hard to be there. Like not only being present in your life outside of the things that you're worried about, but also I feel like we worry so much about the thing that we've worked so hard for that then we go and do it. And what a travesty to not be present and enjoy the production, like the actual like on stage moment and the crowd and the people around you, because you could very easily sort of spiral and think about, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So you had the opportunity, I think this was this year, correct? Last semester. Are you still?
Still, yeah.
Okay, so it's all year long to do an independent study with Mrs. Snyder. Shout out Mrs. Snyder. And she's our high school choral director. Is that correct?
Yep.
Teacher. And so I'm a huge proponent of choice. It's something that our district has prioritized, and we're putting a lot of energy into making sure that kids have autonomy and they get to pick their path as much as possible. Developing kind of a sense of agency, I think, is so important, of feeling like you have control over your life and the direction that you're heading. And so I love that you got to do this independent study with her. And so I'm wondering if you just tell us, I guess, a little bit on the organization of it on the front side of like, how do you go about, if somebody's interested in doing something that maybe isn't an offering, how would they go about making that happen?
Right.
And then tell us a little bit about like what it actually is, like what is your independent study?
Yeah. So really kind of how it started is going into senior year, I realized I was going to have a lot of study halls, a lot of free periods. I mean, I do recommend like if you can take advanced courses or an AP course, that'll get you like some extra credits, or especially with the new CCP courses that they introduced, that's been huge because I've been able to get so many credits just from one class.
Yeah, so I think like when I tell a lot of my middle schoolers and high school, they're like, you can do what? And I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of options.
Yeah.
Like even though it's not the norm, if you're creative, you can really unlock some opportunity. And so we're looking right now for my son that's going to be an 8th grader as an 8th grader to be able to take a CCP course that will actually, a semester of that CCP course checks off a high school year of credit.
Okay.
Right. So you take this semester CCP, and that opens up then an entire year in your schedule.
That would be huge.
And that's kind of what you've done, though, to some extent. You moved through these courses in a way that now that you're a senior, you have some flexibility and some open periods. And so that's where this opportunity came.
Yeah. And I mean, this kind of, it gives me so much freedom to not only polish the music that the freshmen are producing, which they are not your average freshman class. I mean, I don't know how I got so lucky, but this group of girls, phenomenal singers. I mean, I'm very impressed with just their progress and how they've improved throughout the years. You know, I mean, just at Solo and Ensemble, I was watching one of my students solo and I started crying just because I was so proud of how far she's come, and her voice is beautiful. And
what a cool role reversal and flip those. I hear you telling these stories, starting with your mom, being like, wow, you have a really beautiful voice, and then your first performance and recital, to the opportunity to stand on the other side as a teacher and be proud of someone else who's like going on that journey. That's pretty cool.
Totally different experience. Totally different experience. But it's great. And I Miss Snyder has helped me so much in finding the, okay, to teach something, you really got to master it. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with that. I mean, they're asking me questions I don't know the answers to because I've never thought about it from that angle.
And I was going to clarify, you don't have to be the master at it yet, but you have to be willing to find the answers to become the master.
Yes,
because I mean, I have the willingness to go like, I'm not sure, but like, let's figure that out because that's a great question, and being curious and open-minded to it.
Right. Like let's research it ourselves,
Yeah, for sure.
She's given me the chance to not only polish the music that they've produced and, adjust vowels and, make sure not to breathe here, very precise things, but
and that's working with them as like the group, like the way they're singing it and your ability to hear that and go, I think we need to adjust this part or piece. I wouldn't I don't understand any of that, but I understand it as you're describing.
Right.
Yeah.
And like there are little things that even my dad will pick up on after concerts. He'll be like, what was that one part? And maybe some of that's just from him hearing me do it.
He's been doing enough of them.
Exactly, right? But a big part of it is learning how to get them to fix it themselves, is saying, okay, and it's so hard not to help them because I just want to give them the answers, right?
Sure.
But I got to slow down and I say, okay, so are you familiar with solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti? Yep. So if they're trying to find like a jump from do to mi, I got to stop myself from just singing it for them, right? Because they'll hear that and just repeat it back. And that's why singers really struggle with reading music, is because they learn by ear. Instrumentalists, they've got the, in what they're hearing in their head, then they have to put it through the instrument for the sound to happen. We just have the instrument as part of our bodies, so we don't have to think about that extra step. And so when I have to break it down for them and I say, okay, so if here's do, walk yourself up 2 steps to find mi, right? And that is the hard process, is breaking it down and even slowing myself down and realizing, okay, why are they not understanding it? And then how can I make them understand it?
Yeah.
Because that's half the battle, is just, it's kind of like trying to explain to someone why 2 + 2 is 4. I don't know. It just is.
Yeah,
and it's hard to break it down to
and
such
then you start getting manipulatives out. You go like, okay, this is what 2 looks like.
Exactly.
And when but you're doing that with a much more abstract thing of a sound, which is complicated for sure.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, is, not everyone has the best ears, and some people can't tell if they're singing the wrong note, and then that's where things get weird, and it's kind of like, okay, this group of people, try it. All right. Now
so do you have perfect pitch?
I do not have perfect pitch.
Do you, is it Charlie Puth, I think?
Yep.
Have you ever seen him, like, where they'll like ding the
jingle,
side of the thing, and he's like, oh, that's a, I don't even know what I would say,
jealous.
A minor. Or I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, you actually, there's a thing called relative pitch, which like me, my brother have. A lot of kids in the choir have it. It's just finding a pitch that you are certain of. Like every morning, Miss Snyder will warm us up to an A major chord. So for the last 4 years, I've been hearing an A major chord right with that start of the bell.
Got it.
So I could like think of an A. Actually, that's a bad example. Don't ask me to sing an A right now.
Okay.
But sometimes I can sing an A, and then from there you can find, okay, if I need a C, then I'll think up to 2 notes from the A, right?
So it gives you a reference point.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you learn perfect pitch, or do you just have that? Like, can you practice hearing pitches and get to where, like, you can improve on it, but like when you talk perfect pitch,
right,
that's like
perfect pitch, like it's something like you're born with, like from a 2-year-old should be able to do it. But again, like my brother has incredibly relative pitch. He could tell people it's perfect pitch and they wouldn't know. Yes.
Shout out Gabe.
Yeah, shout out Gabe.
He's at OU right now.
Yes, he is studying music education.
And he's in the band there at OU. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a junior.
Yes, you're getting all this right. Yeah.
I had Gabe way back when as well. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So sorry, back to the experience with Mrs. Snyder.
Oh yes.
I love that you said that, you're not just trying to teach them or manipulate them, you're trying to get them to understand it, which is also the other push, is self-directed learning. So this opportunity, you walked in and you saw our Socratic seminar set up out there, and we this early in my career, it was like I handed out a book to everybody and we all read the same book, and I had all these beautifully oriented questions that I still have. I spent years making these things, and I think they really did dissect the book, and they talked about these literary terms, and we had great discussions. But to your point, the students didn't understand how to ask the question. I was just giving them these great questions that I understood how to like manipulate and pull out of a text. And so now we have multiple books that they get to choose from. And so the Socratic seminar has become much more complicated because they're now having to ask questions that are 10,000 foot questions about, how did an author utilize these secondary characters to manipulate a protagonist rather than specific characters inside of one book, or even worse, me asking the question. And so they now have to ask the complicated questions in a book that they've chose in a group discussion, which is more self-directed. They're figuring it out along the way, which it's hard to take the back seat, but it's a much huge. Better opportunity for them to learn. For sure.
Like in learning those generalized questions, like that's kind of that's the stuff that they need to know. But in like figuring that out at that age, like so young, like being a middle schooler, and if they're able to like step back from another perspective and say, okay, let me look at it through this lens, let me try it out this way, that skill will serve them. Absolutely.
And I'm like, you should never be surprised when you walk into a class or a question is asked because you read the text through the lens of what's the great question that I would ask. So you've already asked yourself those things. So I think so. Cool. Any last thoughts about your opportunity and you'll get a full credit for the year, and it's an elective credit? Is that how it works, or will it be a music credit? Or
I think it's an elective credit, because like the teachers got to sign off on everything beforehand, and I think there's a paper that they have to fill out just saying like, yes, this student, like,
did you approach the counselor, or did you approach Mrs. Snyder when you wanted to do it?
A little bit of both. Miss Snyder and I kind of worked together, and it was more we went to my counselor, Miss Cosgrove, and honestly, there was an option for me to go to the intermediate school and help teach the 6th graders, just in case the 3rd period choir didn't work out with my schedule, which, I mean, that just goes to show how many options there are. Like, if you want to find something more self-directed and specific to what you're interested in, there are options out there.
Was there a reason you decided, like, was it just convenience because you're closer to the high school, or do you see yourself wanting to work with older singers, or what was the...
I do see myself wanting to work with older singers. I think, honestly, working with the intermediate schoolers would have been a good skill for me to learn in terms of, like, breaking it down, like, way back to the basics again. But what I do want to do in terms of like my future and just what I enjoy most is the polishing work. It's kind of, we've done the hard part, we've done the learning, and now we just get to make it pretty and sparkly. And this is the easy stuff, right? Just, taking out a word here and there.
Yeah. And I can only relate it to my world and the learning that happens here. It was so cool to watch my boys grow up and learn to read, because I'm an ELA teacher, but I have no idea what they're doing at the elementary school in terms of what a hard, complicated thing to teach someone sounds and then link that into words and sentences. And they show up to me for the most part, and they read really well, and we get to dig in deeper. And so it's kind of a similar situation to wanting to do the fine tuning versus all the props to them of like doing that hard work. And I'm sure even when you think about your interactions as a young singer, just getting somebody to like vocalize and push air out and be loud and these complicated things, for sure.
And a lot of it was just kind of embarrassing movements. Like, she would have me push my arms up against the wall like I was doing a wall push-up. She'd have me do a squat into a high note. And so much of it was embarrassing. Well,
it was like a body. Was it a distraction, or was it a body movement that was helping you be loud?
Like anatomically, squatting will help you engage your diaphragm.
Gotcha.
Pushing against the wall will help you engage those ab muscles that you need for breath support.
Look out, Hayes, my youngest, because he's trying to sing in this band, and he's not very loud, right?
Okay,
he's pretty young, and I'm like, you just got to be louder, man. Like, this is rock music. You got to be loud. And all right, so we're gonna do some
wall push-ups,
wall push-ups, and some squats while you sing. And so, just to simplify that at the end here for this one question, if somebody's interested in something and it's not a course offering, I think you should think about, and you have an opening in your schedule, think about what it is you want to do and what teacher is probably the most closely associated to that you have a connection with, and be like, I'm interested in independent study. What do you think? And as long as they're on board, then you get the counselor on board, and you can kind of design anything you want, as long as that teacher of record is willing. This space that we're in, that we are recording this podcast, before it turned into this, it had lots of books and bookshelves, and in the middle of this, Yusuf Solomon brought in a CB450 Honda motorcycle, and we did an independent study where he electrified that and completely restored it.
That's awesome.
And it was just this, he was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Seems like something you're interested in. Would you be willing? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that for sure.
Absolutely. That's so cool.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next question. I'm so grateful that you're willing to talk about this. We kind of, talked in the prep for this. You're like, I'm not sure. Should we talk about it? Should we not? And I was like, yeah, if you're willing, I absolutely would love to, because I think any of these things that we can talk about and normalize and like let the world know that like, hey, you're not alone. Like this is a real thing, and people are dealing with these, and we, it's this like everyone's fighting a battle that no one knows about. We all look like we're, meandering through our life just fine, and below the surface, that's not always true. And so I'm wondering if you can talk us through maybe just real quick what OCD is and kind of how that has impacted your day-to-day life, and then some strategies that you found to combat. And it can be OCD, but I think a lot of those are adaptable to a lot of things that cause people anxiety or cause people to have some issues.
In general, Yeah, so around a year ago, I actually went in for an ADHD diagnosis. But in addition to that, I received he said, you have some OCD tendencies in there that I didn't even know about. But after hearing that, it did make a lot of sense. I guess just to kind of generalize for those who don't know, I have checking OCD. So
there's different types. Like this is a specific.
Yeah, so there's like contamination OCD, which more specifically deals with the fear of like getting sick, or like a lot of that is staying inside, obsessive hand washing and everything. And actually that's one of my triggers, is like washing hands, flipping light switches, closing doors, turning off faucets. I guess the best way to describe OCD for me personally is it kind of feels like my brain and my body don't work together. It's almost like my brain is second guessing, more like triple, quadruple guessing that my body has actually completed an action. So to kind of set the stage, let's say this is like one of my first memories I had of kind of that quirk.
I was going to ask that if this was like a newer onset thing, or looking back, you're like, wait, maybe this has been around for a minute.
Yeah, it did make a lot of sense. And I think it was much more prominent in my childhood than it is now, if anything. I just remember, I think it was around intermediate school, I had this little lamp, a little mushroom lamp, and I would, in the morning, getting ready for school, I'd go downstairs, have my breakfast, and then I'd run upstairs just to make sure that I turned off the lamp. Sure enough,
that lamp.
That lamp. Sure enough, I looked up, the lamp's off. Okay, we're good. So I'd go back downstairs, and I'd be like, what if I just imagined going upstairs and checking the lamp? So I'd run upstairs again, and I would miss the bus because of this. I would be late because of this, because my brain was just like, okay, well, if you leave the lamp on, then your electricity bill is going to get really high, and then we're going to have no money. That's kind of the way it works. And, a lot of that has been kind of as I get older, I feel like it gets more extreme. Like nowadays, it's so I wash my hands in between every step of skincare or something. When I first started going to the gym, I would wash my hands after every set. I don't know. It was just something I had to do because otherwise I thought something bad would happen.
And it's like there's like I wash my hands a lot, but this is like a literal fixation to where you're kind of uncomfortable or you can't move forward until you're like, I need to go wash my hands first, and then I can go do the next thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to get graphic here, but a lot of it, if I don't like listen to a compulsion or something, this is kind of in the more extreme situations. It's definitely not like this every day. If I had a particularly like stressful day, maybe my triggers would be worse, but a lot of it is kind of this sound like cliche, but it's kind of like I have visions, I guess. If I don't wash my hands at the gym, I remember I had this distinct memory that the person on the machine next to me, just something very traumatic happened to them. Like I had to do a double take. I looked at him, and then I'm not going to describe what it was, but something horrible happened to him. And then I looked away, and then I looked back, and he was still there just doing his workout. And I was like, that was weird. And that was the first time that I had not given, because, exposure therapy is the best way to treat OCD, unfortunately.
And that means just, not giving into the impulse that you have.
Yeah, that was the first time I had practiced that craft, and that was absolutely terrifying. I mean,
it was causing your mind to kind of spiral in other places.
Right, exactly. So, it kind of feels like I don't have enough trust in my body, and something I do to cope with that and just remind myself is fuel, like eating good foods. And I know that ties into fitness, which we'll talk about later, but fueling my body and like eating the right foods makes me feel like my body can be more productive and more in tune with my surroundings, and understanding that like, okay, oh, actually, this is huge, is taking a picture of like a curling iron before I leave the house. That way, if later in the day I'm like, shoot, did I leave that curling iron on? I have a picture in my phone from 8 a.m. this morning, says, yep, it's off, you know?
That's such a good example, because I feel like a lot of people fixate on, I mean, in my own family, we have this conversation about the curling iron like a lot, because, you know, everybody has this extrapolation or story where, you know, the house is burned down because somebody left. And I don't even know if that happens all that often. It could probably stay on all day and it might not burn their house down, but you've all heard that. And so, you know, we've gone back home to check that thing, you know, and it could be like we're heading on a vacation and we're going to turn around and drive back because, you know, we may have left that on.
And every time it's off, it's never on.
Yeah, correct. But the heightened, so that's like infrequent in our situation, but the heightened, like where that might happen frequently, that becomes more of an OCD obsession.
Right. And that's kind of the problem, is it'll be something so small like a light switch, or doors closing is a huge one. Like I always leave my bedroom door, sometimes leave my bedroom door closed. It kind of just depends. And so I'll think about like, you know, just crazy scenarios that would really never happen. Because in my brain, I know that wouldn't happen. I guess like
you're very logical and intelligent, and you can like also process through those things and know that it probably is not likely to happen or won't happen, but that doesn't help with the fixation in the moment, right?
And that's kind of where therapy, because I was in therapy for, it was like 9th grade to like end of junior year, as someone who is pretty in tune with their emotions and I understand what I feel and why I'm feeling it. I found that it was helpful, and I think everybody should go to therapy. It's a great experience, just learning a lot about yourself.
Yeah, say that again. I mean, I think like genuinely, that's another good thing to demystify, is just a therapist, and you know, genuinely, it's going to talk about somebody and working on yourself, which as a human being, we can all do work. Like we all have things that we can improve, and sometimes it's just saying things out loud to someone. Yeah,
and you don't have to be struggling to want to improve. You can feel comfortable in who you are and then still want to make progress. Like I think that's a great mindset to have.
That growth mindset.
I just think that's where I kind of hit the end of my road with therapy, is I realized that my last step is exposure therapy. I need to just kind of, you know, do it. And that's the hard part, but sure enough, she was right. It gets better. You know,
it takes time and exposure to that. Like because then you can tell yourself like, okay, I did that once and it worked.
Well,
or it was okay.
It's definitely non-linear. You know, like it happens once and then maybe I'll go a few weeks and I'll do it again, and maybe it won't work.
The once was a misspeak of like it doesn't happen in one time. Like okay, good, I'm fixed. But you can at least have this. You build up these experiences to reference.
It's habitual. Like it'll definitely become, because like I don't do that with, I mean, the lamp anymore. I don't even have the lamp anymore. But there are things that I did as a kid that I don't do anymore. So that's living proof that it works, you know?
Is there a way to like and I think you already addressed this or answered this, but like switching your fixations to more healthier fixations. And so that's kind of what you were saying of like, I'm going to control the things I can control, like my diet and these things that I eat, and make those things that I fixate on. So the fixation is a healthy one potentially.
Yeah. And even like my dad has been like really helpful throughout this whole process. Both my mom and my dad, like they've been really great about, you know, wanting to learn more about what OCD is and what it can look like for me and how to help it. And something okay, so let me back it up a little bit. In my OCD compulsions will occur a lot in the gym, because that's also something I'm really passionate about. And I feel like maybe if my set, maybe my form wasn't great on those last few reps or something, I'll kind of, you know, that's where that OCD comes in. And it's like, okay, so then those last 4 reps didn't count. Now you need to do 4 more. Oh, but if you did 4, you might as well just do 5. And then you'll do 5 and it still won't feel like enough. Like I'll leave the gym feeling like I haven't even done a workout, just because I haven't satisfied that compulsion. And, you know, I mean, I'll even spend 2.5 hours in the gym. Not so much anymore. This was maybe back a year ago when it was worse, but I would just because I was so passionate about it and I wanted to grow my muscles and I wanted to be strong, I felt like, or I guess my OCD was telling me that the only way I could make progress is if I did everything perfectly. And that's really kind of what OCD is you're just chronically overthinking and worrying about things that you really shouldn't have to. And I guess kind of going along I'll save that for when we get to the fitness talk, when we talk more about activity and health and everything.
Yeah, we'll dig into that there. I just the idea of as a classroom teacher, I love the perspective too of going, like, when I look out at my students and I go, like, how many things they're juggling and what they're dealing with and what they're thinking about. And it's worth repeating that, like, everybody's battling something that you know nothing about. I'm thinking about you navigating your life and complex, like you have an algebra, you have all these things and tests and then you're also juggling, this other part of your life that you're trying to, like, get a hold of and be healthy and make sure that you're in a mentally healthy space. And so just good perspective as a teacher to remember that. Did you read Turtles All the Way Down?
Yes, I did.
By John Green.
Maybe, yeah.
It's one of those things I love about books and trying to help understand what people are juggling. But the main character in there has OCD and spirals with hand washing specifically. But it was just a powerful, like, oh, okay, like that's what OCD feels like. And there are moments when I read that book that there are things like I definitely have OCD tendencies, but I think it's also that, like, I want to be really prepared for everything. And so I think, in reading that, there were moments where, like, my mind would start to spiral and I have some of those tendencies and I could connect and sort of empathize through those characters of what that might feel like and how consuming that could be.
I need to check that out, actually. That sounds,
or maybe not, I don't know. Like, maybe it would be like too close to home. You'd be like, yes, I already know. I know exactly what she's feeling. No, thank you. But it was, if anybody's looking for a book that I think gives a really good perspective, jump into the mind of that character of what that feels like, I would definitely recommend Turtles All the Way Down.
Especially the people that, like, will adjust a fork on the placemat and be like, oh, sorry, I'm so OCD.
Yeah.
No,
like, nope.
Like, that's so annoying.
Yeah. Does that bother you?
Yes,
I mean,
it does.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
We do that with a lot of things where we laugh about and are dismissive, and you're like, if you truly knew what OCD was, like, it's not that, and it wouldn't be funny because it can be consuming.
Right.
But you're doing it and you're battling it, and
and the battle's going pretty well right now. It was definitely a lot worse like a year or two. Like, when I first received it, I was like, wow, okay, this is I think honestly receiving the diagnosis maybe made it worse for a little bit, because then I was hyper aware of it.
Sure.
And suddenly I was picking up on it. I was like, wow, I do it for a lot of things, right? But then that do it right mindset kind of leads to, let me do it 12 times until it's right, and that's where it gets scary.
Well, and the difference between being able to be logical and understand that it's not necessary, but then also feeling the compulsion that I still need to do it and having the sensation, that would be frustrating. Like, that's got to feel incredibly hard to juggle. But I appreciate you sharing that. and I just think this, like, it's the normalizing all of it, that man, we all everybody has some something interesting about them, some tick, some compulsivity, some and I think we often try to hide them because we're like, oh, this is weird about me. Like, I don't know that I'm really weird about food. Sorry, my older son, he gets it from me. Like, I just, like, very, very picky, very finicky. I don't like people to touch my food if I overthink, like, it being prepared. Like, everybody has these weird things. I hate situations that I feel like I can't get out of, like it almost like a claustrophobia, but it's just in a weird, like, sometimes if I overthink being on a bus and I'm like, oh, I don't love this, I'm around a lot of, so everybody's juggling these interesting things about themselves, and that's okay. And it's just about, like, and you, as you said, it's a cycle. So there are gonna be moments where I'm sure where your life is full of stress, and your the OCD tendencies might get worse, like, and it'll be a cycle, and it's like figuring out ways to cope and going, like, I'm not alone, and lots of other people are dealing with this, and that's okay. And leaning on your parents.
Yes.
Asking for help.
And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And I'm not even sure how that came to be. Like, I wonder,
like, how did that happen for you? Like, but it's not a distinct memory.
I guess no. I mean, it kind of just fell into my lap. diagnosis. And then I was like looking back, I was like, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Like,
oh, that's true, because you didn't go seeking that. It was for something else, and they were like, by the way,
right,
like,
you got a few other issues.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, he's great. I'm so glad he picked up on that because there was something wrong with me, and I wanted to know what it was.
And it probably feels good to be like, oh, okay.
That
like
makes
the
sense.
label, it doesn't fix anything, but you go, oh, okay,
So
that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
crazy.
Right.
Right.
I understand why that's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. And that doesn't happen if you don't ask for help and talk to people. And it's a lonely world to live inside of your own mind and body and not like
and it may
talk
seem
to other people.
And like from personal experience, it may seem comfortable there as someone like who has been like depressed at one point in their life. It's, you know, it kind of feels safe and kind of like, you know, maybe I'm sad, but I can live with it. I've done it for, you know, I've been sad for a month. I mean, I don't want to step out and ask for help because it's hard. You need energy for that. You need confidence for that. But faking it till you make it, that is just huge. Just ask for help, you know, and I mean, again, like the confidence part will come later.
Yeah.
But I mean, just asking anyone for help is huge, and just vocalizing your emotions and your goals will help so much. Even if it's to yourself in the mirror, doing some morning affirmations. I mean, it'll just make a night and day difference.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. This idea that just because it feels normal doesn't mean it's healthy. Like, just because you're comfortable, it's what it's always been, or the feeling or the sensation. That doesn't mean there's not a better version of yourself over on this other side if you seek it out. That's good. Cool. Well, let's switch gears completely here. So in talking with your mom and prepping for this interview, she said you're incredibly close to your grandparents, and that they live really close. And so you get to interact and see them a lot. What a gift to have. Both of my grandfathers were just these pivotal men in my life and role models. I miss them dearly. I don't have either of them in my life anymore, but I'm named after my grandpa on my dad's side, and so I'm the third, and then my son is the fourth. Nice. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about them, and maybe a little bit about maybe like what kind of wisdom like they've been in your life and they've influenced you. What are some good grandparent-isms that you can offer us?
I mean, for starters, they are both incredibly smart and really inspirational people. Just hearing what they've come from. Like my Nana has 8, either she is the 8th sibling or she has 8 siblings. But she didn't even live with her immediate family because her mom had too many kids to deal with.
Oh, wow.
So she lived with her aunt and uncle. And they raised her, and she got to see the family all the time, but it's just kind of a different experience.
Which isn't, I don't think that's as uncommon as it might sound now. Like I actually think that was like maybe
a thing
happened. That it wouldn't have been abnormal, like familially, to have somebody help somebody out or raise somebody. Yeah.
And I think, my papa, he's got a lot of history. I can't even remember, I don't know if he grew up in Canada. I know he's got some Ukrainian in him. But they've just been through so much. And I think.
So is he's an immigrant to the U.S.?
I don't know. They both are Canadian. I know that. So
okay.
I don't know if they met in Canada.
They don't live there now, though. They live here. We said locally. Okay.
Yeah. And they're both still bilingual, French speaking. But honestly, the biggest, and this sounds so cliche, but they just preach being yourself. We have a special bond, and I think I feel this emotional connectedness to them because their only hope for me was to be happy, and that's all it ever has been, because they don't judge you. They are always with you every step of the way. And I think my papa is very inquisitive, and he loves asking questions and learning, and I admire that about him. But sometimes I'm like, how do you have the if he's a question at a restaurant, he has no shame to call the waiter over and ask about the history of the restaurant or something. And I'm just like Papa, how do you get the confidence to do that? Because a lot of people have social anxiety. I actually, although I have OCD, I don't have any sort of social anxiety. I really don't get it. It's probably due to the singing, now that I think about it, just on stage and everything. But so even for someone who doesn't have social anxiety, I'm kind of like, my papa's really bold. And how does he do that? And then he's kind of like, well, why should I care what I want to know what the history of the restaurant is. Why should I care that he that bothers him,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
or my Nana is incredibly passionate about her religion. She's very vocal about it, and she doesn't care what anybody else thinks, you know, because she just lives for herself and her true colors, and I love that about them. Like, I really do admire just how shamelessly themselves they are, and I think we all need a little bit more of that. And just with my peers in general, and I think this is a big issue for girls in high school. I mean, I know
Middle school.
yes, yeah,
Right.
and
Like, it's tough time for
yeah,
that.
and I'm sure you see it too.
Yeah.
Just you pick up on it on the halls. Like, there's a lot of there's a lack of genuinity.
Yeah.
And just
Wait, that's not right.
just
Ingenuity. There's a lack
genuineness.
of being authentic.
Yes,
Let's say
yeah,
that.
yeah, that works. Okay.
I feel like there's a word there, but I can't find it either.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
knows? Just little things that people find embarrassing. Like, I know some of my friends find carrying a tray in the lunchroom embarrassing, or walking in with a winter coat is embarrassing. And
There's so much of that, like that I can't pack a lunch, or I can't wear this kind of coat, or these things.
It's like, who is telling you?
And nobody really. I mean, there might be that person for whatever reason is judging, but like nobody really cares. Like, nobody actually has time for that. But maybe some people do, and that's where that comes from. But
I remember you telling me back in 7th grade, this is another distinct memory I have, is you telling me that, like, your no, that's good. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
It's applicable.
Okay, good.
Your, like, roommate or something in college wore the same outfit every day. Like, Monday, he wore this outfit.
Yeah.
Tuesday. Is that true? Am I remembering that?
So we won't name him, but there was a teacher at the middle school that this statement is true. That had a Monday outfit, and every Monday wore the exact same every Tuesday, and nobody noticed. Like, nobody had no clue.
People are too busy thinking about themselves.
100%. They're worried about, are people looking at my outfit? They're not actually looking outward. And to your point, I talk to middle schoolers a lot about this, of like, and it's, I think they come by it honestly because they're trying to figure out who they want to become. Yeah. And it's an appropriate time to do that, and like asking questions and forming an identity. But I'm like, as you do that, don't forget who you are. Yes. Because the thing that's weird, and we talked about this a lot in Christian's podcast, in Beckett's podcast last time. Don't forget the weird thing. Like, the thing that makes you is why you're on the planet. And so I hear that when you talk about your grandma and your grandpa, Nana and Papa, and that they're who they are. Yeah. They're like, I can't imagine being anybody else. Like, why would I be someone or pretend to be something that I'm not? And then I just spiral that all the way back through our conversation of your willingness to get on stage and own who you are and find a voice and sing, and own OCD and be like, this is who I am, and I'm going to process through it. And your willingness to talk about it on here, their influence on your life, and so going like, own who you are and be loud about it is pretty powerful.
And I am huge in advocating for that. I mean, that's what my college essay was about, was being yourself and being confident in the face of conflict and confrontation. But I mean, even like something my Nana said to me is, this actually hit pretty hard, is I had an insecurity. I can't even remember what it was. Maybe it was acne or something. Yeah. And she was like, Chloe, if you didn't have acne, you wouldn't be Chloe. Yeah. It kind of ties in with, okay, maybe that's not a good example. Something more like genetic. I totally got my papa's nose. My mom, papa, and I definitely all have the same nose. And, and maybe I get a little insecure about sometimes, but it's part of my family that's in there. This has heritage to it. This has, and
truly, like it is a part of your,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And like she said, I wouldn't be Chloe. I may be, I don't know, somebody else, Addison. I don't know who Addison is. I may be her, but I don't want to be Addison.
Boy, I hope my wife doesn't get mad at me for this. So she has not loved her nose either. I love her nose. Yeah. I mean, it's my, like,
she has a cute nose.
And it's this person that I've like fallen in love with. So these things about ourselves that sometimes we nitpick about, that somebody's going to love that thing about you. Right. You just haven't found that right person, or you have, and you're just overthinking it. That, those are all the things that make us who we are. And I thought your acne example was actually a fantastic, because I mean, that is a fixation for so many people, and it's so hard. And it, for the time of your life where you're probably the most self-aware, and now I have acne on my face and people are seeing that, and it can be hard to treat, and it's a fixation. So I think, 100%. Sorry, but back to your point of, you got to have those things, those scars, those conflicts in your life to get onto the other side of them, to go like, oh yeah, I made it through that thing, and now I'm a better, stronger version person.
Yeah.
That's really easy to say. It's like really hard to think about in the moment.
Yeah.
But they are, like, all those things are stepping stones for us.
It's true.
And necessary in building us. So.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
It does. It's hard though, for sure. All right. So back to your Nana. So you said they're both French Canadian.
Yes.
Do you know like where at? And
I want to say Quebec.
Okay. Have you ever been? It's on my short list of. Okay. Can't remember.
Yes.
I want to go there for sure. But so she inspired you to take and start speaking French. Did you speak with her prior to like actually taking classes, or?
I would hear her
dabble?
Talking with her family on the phone because they all speak French. So whenever I was in the room with her talking on the phone, it would be in all French. And actually, let me think about this. Gabe was still, because Gabe took French up until I think his junior year. So he was still in French, working on French homework when I was too, because I started in 7th grade. And I mean, it was actually pretty nice getting all that extra help just from my mom and Gabe and everyone.
Did you, you're not taking French now, is that right? And was that just a scheduling kind of situation, or?
Yeah, so the teacher that I had been with, Mademoiselle Benson, she ended up retiring my junior. I totally would have gone on and done it senior year, but there were only 3 people going on and doing AP French, and just between that and getting a new teacher, I felt like, I mean, shout out Mademoiselle Benson. She's an amazing woman, great teacher, and I
hope she's on a beach somewhere. You said she retired?
I know, yes, I know. I hope she's traveling it up. But I think that I just didn't really want to do another year of French without her.
Yeah,
and that's crazy because I love French, but I also love Mademoiselle,
Yeah.
And
I mean, I preach all the time, like, who you learn with matters sometimes more than what you're learning.
A teacher can make or break. Kind of like what you were saying, like as a parent, one thing you say can send your child down a different trajectory,
Even the cohort of people. I mean, even, when you start thinking about like in college and in high school, but the people that you're learning with alongside of the teacher, but can even matter a ton in how you learn and how much you learn. Yeah. So are you fairly fluent?
No, definitely not.
Could you get by?
I mean, like in a classroom setting, sure. Probably not to a native speaker. I mean, I can pick out words, but they just speak so fast over there. Picking up, and there's so many little things. Like I'm sure they would catch on. I'm American. I mean,
at some point you have to live there. I feel like if you really want to like become fluent, immerse yourself in the language. What is learning a second language taught you that maybe translates larger to life?
So actually, just a little bit ago when we were trying to find the word for ingenuity or ingenuity, whatever. So what we did there is called circumlocution, something like that.
You're teaching me something here.
Okay,
I'm
good.
Ready. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, this is something Mademoiselle taught us, is when you can't find the word for something, you kind of dance around it, you find maybe another word, or you vaguely describe it. That's what that is.
Got it.
So French, I mean, just learning any new language, there's a lot of that. Just you're not able to find the word, so you got to find a way to get the words out, right? I mean, I think we take for granted our ability to just freely and openly communicate, and that the fact that we are understanding each other right now. And so once you literally remove the ability to effectively communicate, and she says, okay, only talk in French now. Suddenly you got to resort to body language and cues and like reading facial expressions, but circumlocution, there's a lot of that, and just trying to find different ways to explain something that are apart from what your initial instinct was, right? I think that is a skill, because let me break it down this way. So, if every day, I'm going to make up a number, we talk to like 50 different people, all 50 different brains work differently, right? So we got to find a way to talk to that person in a way that makes sense to them. I don't know about you, but I think I personally changed my sense of humor a little bit by the person. I adjust it to who my target audience is when I'm talking to them, and just learning a new language helps so much with that, and being able to find just like across the years, it'll build up your ability to communicate and break
even in
things
your
down.
even in your native language, you're saying, like, just your ability to adapt to a situation and communicate your thoughts clearly.
Yeah, whether you're in an argument with a partner or a friend or something, and maybe they're just not getting what you're asking them to do. You gotta find a new way to do that. But sometimes, like, you know, how do we practice that in our day-to-day life? You can't.
When language is easier.
Exactly.
Sure.
So, you know, this is a great way of just finding out things about yourself and other people. I mean, I got to know a lot of the people in my French class pretty well just because we do little skits like this where Mademoiselle said, only French, figure it out, you know?
Right.
And that kind of just throwing us in there and saying, hey, you know, figure it out. That, I don't know what kind of teaching you call that. Experimental teaching, just kind of throwing them in there. I don't know. It works, so
trial
sometimes.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, I love the idea that it helps you just appreciate the amount of energy that everyone has put into learning and acquiring language. Literally, we were talking earlier, to learning letters, to words, to sentences, to be able to like talk. We take that for granted. Unless you can't communicate, something happens. So yeah, jumping into a foreign language, I haven't had that as a response. I've kind of asked this question in different ways, and there's often a cultural perspective, which I think that's true. But I love the idea that it just helps you appreciate communicating in general and makes you a better communicator in your native language.
And as I don't think it's overrated. I do think it's said a lot, but communication is key. You know, it's said a lot because it's true. It really is. I mean, I really do think that actually I'm in probably one of the best like friendships of my life. Like, we are just in such a good spot right now. Me and my friend, and we emotionally communicate when there's an argument. We don't, say hurtful things to each other. We kind of take a break to meditate, and we say, listen, I feel this way because this way, and I think this would help, and maybe she's not getting that. So I got to think, okay, how can I find, because I like this person, I think a lot of times when we get in arguments, we forget that this is someone that we love and we care about. So we got to take a step back, slow down, and say, how can I make this so it makes sense to them, because half the time it's just a communication error.
Yeah, and that's an interesting, important point I don't know, make up a number, 70 or 80% of the arguments we're engaged in them because we care about the person on the other side. If not, we would have just walked away from the majority of them. And so handling that conversation with care, because the person on the other side is someone that we want to be careful with and care about. That's a good point.
And that also means being honest. Like, even if we care about them, sometimes you got to bring up the hard things. And, like, if I mess up in my music, she'll tell me because I want someone having my back, know, and I don't take offense to it. She's trying to help me. And maybe, I mean, it's not so awkward anymore, but once we first started getting to that stage, I kind of was like, do I correct her? Do I let her figure it out? And we just established that, correct me. Why not? You're just trying to help me out.
If you know it's coming from a good place.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Trying to build someone up rather than tear somebody down, right? That's good stuff. I think about that as a teacher because I know half the things I say aren't landing or communicating, and it could be because I'm 42 and they're 13. It could be because I know the material in a way that they don't. So what a good like perspective you're having about like communicating, and that you can adapt the way that you communicate to a given situation. What was the word you said again?
Oh, circumlocution.
Circumlocution. Thank you. No, that's what I was looking for. But just this idea that we can adapt the way we communicate things to match the person we're talking to is pretty mature perspective. Cool. All right, next question. All right, so I have 3 questions. Your mom told me that you're pretty passionate about protecting the environment, and so I'm wondering where does that come from? And I think I have a good idea, knowing what's going on up there at the high school, and kind of a partner. I would call him a partner in crime in the SDL and experiential learning and advocacy.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, what concerns you the most about the current state of our environment? Like, what are the things that, if you had that magic wand, you could like poof, poof, fix it? And then, what you would recommend for people your age to sort of start doing now, or getting involved in to have a positive impact?
Okay. I'm going to start with that last question. Okay. Just, I feel like it ties into what we were talking about, communication. Kind of what I have here is word of mouth is huge. I think as kids, well, as kids, I'm an adult, as teens, I think we're afraid to step up and, you know, take initiative to recycle and do things like that just because, you know, maybe just kind of going back to the, like, embarrassment of wearing a winter coat. You know, these are things that typical adults feel normal. This is normal for the adult world, but maybe for a teen, people are like, oh, why is she trying to be so mature about the environment? She's just a teenager. She should be going out and partying. It's like, no, I don't have to be doing that. I can be standing up and making a difference. And again, I think a big part of that is just word of mouth. Tell people if you see someone accidentally throw something in the trash that could be recycled, just, you know, tell them. Just be like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, we do recycle, so put that in this can, you know, and maybe they just don't know. But I think... What is it, an aerobic digester that we have up in the...
Yeah, I hear your Nana and your papa all coming out there of like, why wouldn't I tell them? Like, why wouldn't I use my voice and advocate for this thing that I know I care about and is really important to the planet?
Yeah. And, like, you know, a lot of it is picking and choosing your battles. Like, if you see someone having a rough day, just let them be, you know? Yeah. But at a certain point, I mean, if you have a friend maybe who's just not so good at recycling, just kind of be like, hey, you know what? Recycling means a lot. And, oh, honestly, I love statistics. If you can present someone with a hard fact and say, listen, there are 7... wait, I did just see a number the other day. There's
so many scary numbers that it's like pick which one you want.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see. So about a football field's worth of jungle territory in the Amazon rainforest, if I'm remembering this correctly from AP Environment last year, gets slashed down, like, by the minute, just with the logging and the deforestation and the burning. So much stuff going on.
And some of it is they want to use that land for other things, not just even some of it's forestry. But
like, I mean, habitats are being destroyed, absolutely, which, you know, kind of ties into what I'm worried about in terms of the environment. You know, I tell my friends, I say, if I had access to some sort of sound system or a giant speaker that could reach the entire world, and I had like 1 hour to just fix things, I would definitely address climate change. I think that is a huge issue right now, and we're seeing it firsthand. I mean, winter has been weird this year. It was 60s 2 weeks ago. Now there's snow on the ground. It was incredibly hot in August, and you know, Mr. Redding, actually, of course, shout out to Mr. Redding.
Shout out Mr. Redding.
Yeah. He told us about this, how to boil a frog. So if you boil some water and throw a frog in it, the frog's going to realize, okay, what changed is that the water, when I entered the water, I started feeling pain. So the frog is going to jump out, right? It could understand that the water was the problem. But if we put the frog in the water at room temperature, then we slowly boil it. Of course, we're going to kill the frog, so this isn't very environmentally friendly, but, you know, the frog is not going to realize that the water's the problem because it slowly got hotter.
And that's where we're at.
Exactly where we're at. I mean, sometimes scientists think we're past that point in terms of our biocapacity, which is how much life our ecosystem can support. Some people think we are... or maybe that's carrying capacity. I think that's carrying capacity is just how many individuals can we fit before things start to go south.
In this current ecosystem.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of scientists think we've hit that point. Some people don't think we're there yet. It just depends. I think that it doesn't matter where we are and we should try to lower it, right?
Yeah, even I love that frog example, and I think we're definitely living through that, right? It's just the norm. Like, it's hard to remember a time when things maybe weren't like that. It's just, you know, this slow progression. I just listened to a podcast that's a Rivian, which is an electric car manufacturer, but he started that car company. And he was referencing back, and he was like, you know, from a pollution perspective, when you looked at what happened in the cities during COVID, when all the vehicle emissions, people weren't commuting to work any longer, and these smog-based, really dirty-looking, it went away and it cleared up that quickly. But on the day-to-day, it's just a normal part of the environment. Like, it's just an expectation. Nobody stops to think about it because they're caught up in their day-to-day life. So yeah, that's a great example.
And it's hard because it feels daunting thinking, okay, I'm one person. I'm not going to change the world. Okay, but you should try. You know, a lot of it has to do with the morality of it. And I think even just a little bit of self-discipline throughout your day-to-day life is good, and I think it's healthy.
We got Theo Wallace sitting on the table here.
Just, actually,
I do feel like we've made some strides in that capacity of single-use, water bottles, like even just drawing attention to some of these things that we can fix. And I rarely see a lot of water bottles any longer. They're all, a Wallace or things that they can be filled up.
Yeah, thanks to good marketing nowadays and consumerism.
Right. And there can, right. So there can be some good that can come out of that, hopefully.
So along with climate change, I think climate change does encompass things outside of just global warming. So that also means, it's just the change of the climate, right? But that can also entitle our oceans are getting warmer. What does that mean? That means our coral is dying. We've got a horrible, horrible methane problem thanks to all the cows and corn. We have so much corn. And honestly, when we talk about feeding the world and there are starving people, we have the food for it. We have the amount of food needed. We just can't distribute it. Yeah. All of the food is, grown in huge monocultures, and they're only growing corn, which isn't nutritionally dense. So if we want to feed the people, we have to do two things. Distribute it first effectively. How are we going to do that? That presents a huge issue, seeing as so many people live in high-rise apartments complex. They have to walk 15 minutes to go to the grocery. They got to carry all the groceries back. And a lot of these people, they can't shop locally because it's too expensive, or they're not near anywhere locally.
Right, and making the right choices often has a price tag associated with it.
Absolutely.
That becomes unaffordable for some people.
That externalized cost.
Yeah.
If you're buying a 99-cent burger at Wendy's, how on earth did they get that burger to be 99 cents? What did they do to it? How does it if they're still making profit off a 99-cent burger, then they're definitely producing it for something.
But if it's the only thing that they can afford, then it's a hard sell to someone to say, go buy the $4 burger that is a grass-fed, locally raised. The stats, when you look into how much of the corn we produce and how much of that food goes to feed the cow so that we can eat the cow, how much energy is actually displaced calorie-wise in order to have that beef too. I'm not a vegetarian per se, but I've definitely leaned and started eating way less meat and beef. My oldest son has been a vegetarian maybe since age 3.
That's great.
More from an ethical standpoint than an environmental one, when he found out where meat came from, and he's sort of stuck to that. But so there's a lot of things to work on, and it can be overwhelming, but your message is you find the thing and you advocate for it and you start somewhere.
My dad even just bought a plant-based cookbook. I really think at some point in our generation or my lifetime, everybody's going to have to be vegetarian. I just don't think we're going to have enough, whether it's money, whether we have enough animals to produce that. I think that it's not that we need to stop eating meat completely, just we as a whole need to eat less, right?
Well, and it's one of those messages that was, as someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, this message of protein and how important it was, and if you want to be strong, and there are some incredibly fit, very healthy people who are vegetarians,
absolutely,
that you don't have to seek those things from.
Plant-based protein is huge, and I know we'll get into this later as fitness comes up, but peanut butter, yogurt isn't vegan, never mind. That is hard. Once you start thinking about vegan, that becomes different.
Vegan versus vegetarian, right. But there's still a lot of, I think, beans and, there are a lot of things that you can still access protein
through.
Tofu. Yes. Cool. Yep. And just to clarify and to go back, but the reason that you're so passionate, you would attribute to Mr. Redding's
Good old Mr.
AP
Redding.
Environmental
I
Science?
honestly think that course should be a required course. I think every student should have to take it. We got to take a biology and a physics. I think throw environment in there. Yeah. I have learned so much. And again, I wasn't super passionate about it until that class.
I was going to ask if it was something that was on your radar prior, or that's really where it kind of...
Not really. We've always, as a household, we've always recycled, and, we try to buy stuff at the farmer's market. But we, as a lot of it was Mr. Redding, and his lectures are so passionate, and you can tell that he loves what he's doing, and he truly just wants to help the environment. And I'm sure this is a great outlet for him, because he's literally shaping the next generation of people who are gonna be, not to say like cleaning up the mess of prior generations, but kind of,
you can kind of say that. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I'm
and
sure
some of it's from a lack of information. You know, like some of what we, as you move forward, the next generation has to like do things differently. Sometimes it's not coming from a sense of like recklessness. Sometimes it's just like, I didn't know any better.
Yes, yeah. And even I'm sure the generation after us will be saying stuff like that too.
They'll look back and go,
you guys screwed it up.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't know. I think there is so much that could be done, even just helping animals, and biodiversity is huge. Like making sure our habitats are like nourished and flourishing with life. It really just improves. I just don't understand the lack of initiative to help the environment when it is a win-win situation. Just about every lesson Mr. Redding described, we found that helping the environment will help us, because a lot of the times there's this fight between environment versus economics, and then people prioritize the economics because they kind of have no choice, whether they're living check to check. They love the environment and they love nature, but their only choice is to buy the cheap stuff, buy the stuff that's produced horribly. And, unfortunately, the system has been set up and we kind of have to live with it or completely change it and redo it. So I think, just doing the best to kind of navigate that. And I don't know. I think we'll get to a place that we need to be in the environment, but I don't think we are there right now.
Yeah. And I talk with my ELM students a lot when they're thinking about their projects or what they want to build or create. And money is not a good or bad thing. It's a lubrication sometimes. Like it allows things to happen. I think you can go and do good things in the world and in the environment and build things and still care about the environment. Like it's not mutually exclusive. Like I either have to pick going and doing things and building things and having a business, or I have to care about the environment. It's like, no. And I think that's the growing trend in the shift. And you think of a company like Rivian, that they want to do both things. Like we can be a company that's profitable and we can also do things that help out and consider the environmental impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cool. All right. So, your mom also described you as someone who exercises regularly, but a lot of your childhood was like
music stuff,
music oriented, not super athletic. And so I'm wondering, like, where did that transition or shift happen? And tell us a little bit about that. And I just like this notion of you're not working out because you want to go win a game, like you're working out to be healthy.
Right.
And so what that looks like for you.
Honestly, because I did do soccer and gymnastics were like the two big ones, and horseback riding. But
how long did you, like, when did you stop playing
so soccer pretty much elementary. Okay. I mean, maybe like K through 2. Gymnastics was more like 3 through 4, grades 3 through 4.
Yeah.
And I was actually pretty good at gymnastics. Like I was strong and everything, but again, once I switched to music, that just kind of, I liked it more.
And it was an appropriation of time. Like you were,
yes.
It wasn't I mean, maybe it was a deliberate, I'm not going to do these things anymore, but it was like because I want to use my time over doing these things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's not because I didn't like them at all.
Yeah.
I still love soccer. I mean, great sport. So honestly, getting into the gym, I just didn't like my appearance. I wanted to change it. I wanted to lose a little bit of weight, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just wanted to be healthy, you know? But again, I mean, there were some mental blocks just with the OCD and everything, so that made it really hard. But once I got on track, I really realized, like, and it's hard saying this because now I'm like, I'm going to have to work out for the rest of my life, but it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
I just even within, what's the phrase? It's like in 2 weeks, you'll feel it. In 4 weeks, you'll see it. In 8 weeks, you'll hear it. And it's true. Like, 2 months into the process, I guess, I heard people saying like, Chloe, you're glowing. You look happier, and that was the goal, right? Yes, I wanted to look different, but ultimately it was so I could feel happier. I wanted to be able to look in the mirror and be proud of like a body that I have made strong and fueled, and now it can do hard things, I mean,
There's also this pride behind it, like the amount of energy you had to put in and the dedication and the like showing up, right?
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Just thinking that like I did that, you know? I mean, it kind of seems nonchalant now going to the gym, but I mean, I'll leg press like 400 pounds and then I'll kind of go home and I'll tell my dad, he'll be like, what? Say that again? Because, you know, I mean, it's just kind of crazy to think about, but you know, once you start and you kind of get going, you realize, wow, I felt really good after that. And then it just changes. Like if you start, I guess, I don't know, something for me was I only went to the gym like 2 days a week and then it started, you know, gradually increasing. But once I started going every day is when I started realizing that your workout doesn't have to be perfect. And that goes with the OCD is kind of like, you know, I'm just going to show up to the gym, do a little 30 minutes of cardio and call it a day.
Yeah.
If I want to go on to 45 minutes, great. I've passed my goal, you know. And that mindset has helped a lot in terms of motivation, and because finding the energy to get to the gym is so difficult.
If it's not a routine. Right.
Yes. I honestly found, you know, with the musical starting up, I have significantly less free time, but because of that, I will be more productive, I find, like even though I'm more tired. How do I describe this? So if I know I have rehearsal at 6:30, I literally have no choice but to go to the gym from like 3 to 5.
If that's something that you've now identified as a part of who you are, right? Like you're like, I've got to get it in, so I'm going to go.
And so it's kind of like if I guess back when musical isn't in session and I've got more free time on my hands, I can be like, okay, well, I could go to the gym at 5, I could go at 7, you know, but having that routine, that it's almost, you know, this ritual. I kind of wake up, school, go back home, have lunch because I've got senior lunch. Everybody look forward to that. Senior lunch is huge.
Lunch.
Like,
what happens at senior lunch?
You just, it's so nice. You kind of feel like an adult getting to go home, take
you
a
get
break
to leave.
from.
That's what senior lunch is. Okay.
Because you only have half an hour just in the regular lunch, but if you have a study hall in the period before lunch, you get to combine it.
Yeah.
And just living 5 minutes away from the school is really nice.
I leave every single day, and I only get 30 minutes still. Most teachers do not, but it's just such a mental refresh to go outside, breathe fresh air. I literally cuddle my dog for 1 minute and eat like a piece of toast or an apple, and then I come back. But it's just a nice reset.
Yes, exactly. A little midday reset. It's huge. And having, I mean, okay, not to make this all about the lunch, but like having that reset just helps in terms of energy.
Yeah.
But then getting back on the routine, going back to school can be a little, you know, I'm already home.
Right.
But, you know, I go back and then I do it, and then I'm kind of in that mindset again. I'm in that productive mode. So, and also having ADHD is this idea of inertia, right? If I sit down, then I'm going to get tired, and I just want to keep things in motion. So a lot of times I'll just go school, gym, rehearsal. And then I can kind of look forward to that. Listen, 9 p.m. is my favorite time of the day because I'm in bed with a movie playing. I'm like out of the shower, and I just get to look forward to that free time. So I tell myself, listen, if I can get everything done, and if I don't get everything done, that's okay. You know, if I only accomplish 80% of my goals for the day, that's okay, you know.
But you filled the day. You know, you did everything you could in that time that you had.
Yeah. And so just going to the gym has helped me establish that routine and get my energy out kind of in that way. And it's also an outlet. Like my friends go to the gym, I get to see them there, and it's nice.
I love just to back up to the point you made about by going every day, you know that every day is not going to feel your best, and that like what a metaphor for life, and like you just have to show up, and sometimes you show up at 60% and that's okay, and sometimes you show up at 100%, and that you were going to the gym for you, as in you were going to the gym not for an ideal of someone else or some, like it was because you wanted to feel strong and you wanted to feel healthy and you understood the benefits of that. And I think those are all the right reasons, right? Like that's, and I love that you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to work out for life now. Like, but like, yep. Like that's kind of how working out happens. And it's such a transition from, you know, like a middle school, high school where I'm working out for this sport that might be, it's like, nope, you actually are building healthy habits to where you are a healthy human being and are strong for the rest of your life.
You know, it kind of, I don't know when exactly this happened, but I kind of realized that I was watching these videos of like fitness influencers who are starting their day at 6, eating a hearty breakfast, going to the gym, getting things done. And I would look at that and be like, I'm going to be that type of adult when I'm older. But then I'm like, why can't I be that type of teen?
There you go. Yeah.
Think bigger.
Sure.
So, sure enough, I got in the gym and it's hard, I'm sitting there like exhausted, just wanting to go home. But kind of once you're in that moment, you're thinking, okay, this is 2, maybe 1.5 hours out of my life, out of my day, out of my month. It's really not that big a deal. So if I can make the most of it, and yes, I'm exhausted and tired and sweating, but I want, being present as part of that, and I want to make the most of this moment. So I might as well, while I'm here, give it my all.
Right.
With that being said, I can't always give it my all every
Sure.
day, but yeah.
I love that I hear you keep saying that you kind of buck the traditional or the expectation of like what a 18-year-old or a 13-year-old or what like you don't have to, even though there might be a cohort of people who look at you and be like, why are you trying to be an adult, or why are you doing it that way, that you get to be your own human.
Yes.
And making some of those good choices that do buck the trend or the like stereotype is a good decision sometimes.
Yeah. And I think we need more of that.
Yeah. Cool. So before you know it, the semester is going to be over and you're going to be heading off to college somewhere. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what that process has looked like for you, and in terms of like how do you find the right school and applying, and then do you know where you're going?
Okay, so the college application process, very scary, very intimidating for no reason. It's a lot of jumping through hoops, a lot of answering the same questions over and over again, but
because they have like common apps in some places, but then there's like multiple common apps sometimes. Is that right? Like,
yeah, there's like supplemental essays. So like some colleges will require you write additional essays for like certain prompts. I just applied to like mainly Ohio public schools. So my top 2 are OU and Miami. Probably gonna go with Miami. That's
woo-woo.
Yeah. Is that where you went?
Yeah.
Awesome.
My wife and I, Miami
Look at
mergers.
that. And Miss Snyder.
Yep.
You like it? It's a good school.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I mean,
Well,
I don't have a great I mean, we've like visited a lot of campuses and I loved Miami. It a little bit felt maybe a little too I don't know how to say this. Like I just felt comfortable there. Like I felt like it's this
That's
like
great.
nice small town, and you don't have to drive anywhere. Yes, like everything is walkable, and
that's huge, honestly.
it was great. I felt it just felt like home. I don't know.
Good. Yeah,
I think like when you like this has come up another, but when you walk on and you'll just like know, like when you visit the right place.
Exactly.
It's like, if you haven't found that yet, you haven't found the right place yet.
Yeah. And that's the sense that I got when I visited their campus. Actually, I didn't even visit OU's campus. I just had a sleepover with my brother down there. He showed me around. In beautiful campus, OU, I worry about the size of it and wanting to, if I did go to OU, it would probably be because of their extensive range of majors. I found that my really kind of only issue with Miami is they only offer minors in some programs that I'm interested in, like forensics. Love forensics. I'm in that course right now. Highly recommend it. It's so interesting and cool, and you learn about the FBI. My most recent presentation was on Jeffrey Dahmer, like the serial killer. Very unconventional class.
Is that an elective as well, or is that like a science credit?
It's a science credit.
Okay.
Yep. It's seniors only though, so
Gotcha.
you got to complete all your prereqs before it. But it's a great class. And, Miami only offers a minor in criminology. Like, I couldn't find anything else for that. And they don't offer that many environmental programs. So I was like, shoot, do I go with OU just for the majors? But I do feel like no matter what I major in, I'm going to be better off if I go to the place that I truly fell in love with, right?
Sure.
And that's, I just love the campus. And like you said, it kind of felt like home.
I think a lot of those majors that I hear you talking about, if you pick up a minor, a lot of them would probably necessitate a master's anyway, or you might want to anyways. And so, you'd have exposure to it, and then you'd go specialize at some other university, or potentially they have a grad program there.
Or even Miss Hoover was telling me, the forensics teacher, because she went to Miami too. Wow, everyone went to Miami. She was saying that she majored in zoology, I think. Obviously she doesn't do that anymore. And like her roommate majored in marketing, but she doesn't even do marketing anymore. So
my roommate was a choir vocal major,
yeah.
and he's in business now.
Okay,
So, yeah.
So it makes me feel better to realize that, you know, nothing's set in stone.
Boy, I mean, more so for your generation than any prior, the ability to adapt and be fluid, that the world is just such a rapidly evolving place that, you know, you might have a couple careers, and that's pretty normal in everybody's. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, I would, again, be making up numbers, but I would say 50% of the people that I know don't actually use their degree for the thing that they do for their profession on a daily basis. And I think that'll become even more true as you move forward. So
and I think that, you know, that's a very good point. As much as I'd love to go into music, I think what would make me happiest would be a choir teacher. However, I really, really want to travel, and I think I want to work with adults when I'm older. I'm not sure if I like the idea of, you know, reporting to it's kind of like an 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. life. I mean, I do like those hours because you've got 8 more hours of the day, you know, once you get home. I don't want to work.
Unless you're grading papers.
True. I didn't even think about that.
But no,
like, you know, because a lot of jobs, you know, you're coming home late, past dinner sometimes, and, you know, then suddenly your day's over.
Teaching's you have a lot of flexibility and none all at the same time, especially if you're a classroom teacher. You know, you have your 8 to 3, you have summer.
You can only travel in the summer.
And not to undersell those. It's amazing. Like, it's amazing to have the summer, have long Christmas, winter vacations, and but you're also, from that 8 to 3 when you're in session, you're pretty locked down. Where, you know, in the business world, you might work longer, like required hours, but then you have some flexibility on vacation of when you might want to take it. So there's trade-offs. But
and I think, I mean, just working in the quote unquote adult world, or maybe working in the corporate world, you get more freedom just in the office. I mean, I don't want kids, so I guess maybe not so much the standard path, just because I want to be able to get up and leave and travel, you know, and I worry that having kids would make that difficult. Not that they couldn't travel along, but just I would be I guess I can see myself working with adults. Yeah. And as someone who doesn't want kids, I'm like, why would I become a teacher? You know, I don't know.
No, and I know teachers who don't have kids who are really effective at what they do. But I can also say, and as a young teacher, this was hard to hear. They were like, you know, well, you don't have kids, and so it's hard for you to understand. Sometimes they would say that, and it's like,
Shoot.
I'm getting dinged because and there's no argument that you can make to that. You're like, well, you got me. You're right. I don't have kids.
Right.
It does change you a little bit as a teacher. Like, I'm a different teacher having kids and having raised kids. I think I'm an even better teacher empathetically, you know, just because I watched it happen, and there is this like feeling. And so I think there's some truth to what you're saying, that there, you know, not wanting kids and then becoming a teacher might feel a little different. Or
I guess, I don't know. I think
is that from an environmental impact?
Honestly,
or more the travel? Like, is it both? Like, is it?
If I were to have kids, I mean, I love kids. I babysit. Actually, that's how I get one of my credits. Is I'm, again, like if anybody's looking for flexibility, right? Just working, as long as you work 40 hours a quarter, then you'll get.
You can have like a work experience credit hour.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're super receptive to that, and I love babysitting. I mean, I've got a lot of different kind of Granville families that I just put in rotation. And I just think that maybe that will be my outlet for kind of working with kids. Well,
I can tell you, I didn't think I wanted kids until I was like 20.
Oh no! So it could still happen to me.
Yeah, I was set in my mind. I'm like, nope, that's not the life for me. I'm not having it. Like, I loved my freedom. I loved the idea of traveling.
Yes.
And here I am, and I just couldn't the best thing that's ever happened in my life. So, you know, keep an open mind, even though I completely understand, where you're coming from. And
and I do think like it just also depends on what I end up doing. I mean, honestly, if I do become a choir teacher, maybe I will have kids. I think maybe that makes sense. But if I become something, I mean, just because I want to travel so much, I would love the idea of a job that is like remote and you can kind of work from home. So
and that's such a possibility now, like that you can do,
absolutely.
a lot of things from all over the place if you have an internet connection and a laptop.
Options are endless.
So.
I just think, maybe, I don't know, what was the original question?
I think it was just about like, where are you going? How did you find it?
Okay.
And you had just kind of said Ohio, like you were like, I'm happy kind of here grounded.
Yeah.
Interesting though, because you want to travel.
I know, right?
But you're like, definitely study abroad, like find, and I'm sure that's already on your radar. Yeah. Go to some French speaking country.
Yes. Definitely.
Spend a semester there. Yeah. It changed me as a human being, the way I understand the world, who I was.
Where
going
did you
abroad.
travel?
I went to Luxembourg for a semester.
On the campus over there?
Yeah. It's Miami's, and so I would absolutely tell you to do that trip.
Heck yeah.
And it was amazing.
I'd love to do it.
Cool. And then the application, you said, you're applying to things and ACT, SAT, did you do prep?
So, it's so nice how many schools don't force you into submitting an ACT, SAT score nowadays because they're finally understanding that, this is a one-day test and sometimes people just aren't on their game, you know? Something happens, you never know what happened that morning.
I'm sad that some schools are going back on that, though.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't know if that's more of an Ivy League, like kind of upper, like those are the schools, but I've just heard that they're kind of, some are transitioning back to requiring.
Yeah, I think they got pretty lenient with COVID, and then they're like, oh, wait, we got to go back,
Yeah. Well, but I just even heard, I think this statement makes a lot of sense in that, they're like, okay, so you're saying a standardized test was it, and what they found was it was a really great predictor. High scores on the SAT and ACT did translate into students who were successful in college. Yeah. But then the question should be asked of why is it that a standardized test is a predictor for them being successful? What does that say about the experience that you might be offering them? And so, I hope some more digging goes into that perspective as well from the university's perspective, because it is a test, tedious.
Like it's teaching students how to lock in for 3 hours and answer 100 plus multiple choice questions. Like, is that the best use of our time and resources?
And nothing in the world works like that. No project, no problem that you're solving. It involves a team of people working with resources and multiple attempts and bringing it back to the table and failing and trying again. And so that's why I'm like, that's just as a metric, I'm not sure that I put a lot of energy into it. So, all right, cool. Well, we're going to transition into the last set of questions. These are questions that I ask every guest. They're designed to help our middle school and high schoolers kind of navigate the next 4 to 5 years of their life. So the first one is, if you could go back and tell your middle school self anything that would have made navigating middle and high school easier, what would you tell yourself?
Just can't reiterate enough like how much being assertive has changed my life. I know I talked about this briefly about the college essay and everything, but I essentially wrote it on the importance of taking up space. Like, you are allowed, like your body, you are allowed to take up space. You are here for a reason, right? And so I think this goes along with like wanting to normalize things that maybe are seen as embarrassing, but being yourself and standing up to people who are fake or standing up to people who have hurt you in a mature way. That doesn't mean go yell at somebody, because 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Sure.
But being able to address conflict and being able to confront people is huge. I mean, if somebody has hurt you, you don't have any sort of obligation to say, oh, well, maybe next time they'll be nicer. And, I understand if somebody's having a bad day, like, pick and choose your battles, like, maybe just kind of sit this one out. But if repeatedly someone is hurting you or doing something that maybe you're uncomfortable with, you got to tell them. Yeah. And it's hard, but just that has changed my life so much.
Even if they're having a bad day, it's okay to let them have their bad day and go the next day and say, hey, I just wanted you to know that was hurtful or that I didn't appreciate the way that went down.
And it's not an excuse to take it out on you. But
And I would, you know, one up that and say, you know, even when you're thinking about adults in your life and teachers and people in positions of authority, that you're allowed to tell them how you feel too.
Right.
I know there are students out there who I did something that I probably didn't even perceive, and it was hurtful to them, or, you know, it never is intended that way, but for whatever reason, the way it landed, and they probably went on about their day where, gosh, and not only went on about their day, but probably that was like a thorn in their side in our relationship because they didn't articulate. I'm like, man, I would love for them to, you know, maybe not in the middle of class, but after class, come up and be like, I did not love the way that happened. And 100% of the time they would get a like, geez, I am so sorry, because that was not the intention.
Right.
Giving people the opportunity and the space to apologize by telling them how you're feeling. But yeah, I like that. As a human being, you are allowed to take up space.
Yes, absolutely.
You have value for sure. All right. So what's something that your middle school, high school years, from your middle school, high school years, you didn't appreciate totally, but when you look back, you can say like, you know what, that was either pretty great or wasn't too bad.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, because you were my English teacher, I'm thinking, you know, English stuff. Honestly, the books were so good from middle school that I don't really remember. And like even freshman year of high school, I really enjoyed the literature that we read. And I think maybe take advantage of that, you know, like we're given the opportunity to have somebody walk us through a book and pick up little details that we would never have noticed, you know. Actually, I remember it was that book with like Jenna Fox or something. That red skirt. Yeah. I remember in 7th grade, you'd be talking about this red skirt.
Now you're making me second guess the fact that I give them choice, because I don't get to like go through all these like beautiful literary moments in depth as much.
I know
but
what you mean. But it's nice that you're like, you have somebody there to walk you through and say, listen, maybe the author's doing this for a reason, because I wouldn't pick up on half that stuff, you know.
I'm thinking of Jim Redding too. Just in this, like, these people they're passionate about it. They have this expertise. They've dedicated their whole lives to it, and so I think I could see the initial response sometimes being annoyed or like, come on, do we really need to? But you know, the willingness to dig in and be like, sure, like, why not? This is pretty great, and feed off of their passion.
And I also think it's important to realize that, like, as a student, maybe you think these teachers are out to get you. I promise you they're not. Yeah. They are here for a reason, right? I mean, they went to school and they studied for this and they enjoy it. You know, maybe it's not the most exhilarating thing for them teaching a bunch of high schoolers, but I guarantee that they want you to succeed, because I mean, that's a reflection on themselves, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah, I mean, I can promise you that, like, that is like, I just want everyone to succeed. Like, I'm so excited, and I am invigorated. Like, I'm excited to be here. That there's never, I think sometimes holding people accountable, right, or having really high expectations can feel to some students like you're out to get them, or that you don't want them to succeed. But and I think it's hard, you know, you see that on the backside when you go like, oh, that's what somebody caring about me felt like they just they saw something in me or expected more of me. And it's hard to appreciate in the moment sometimes, but you can see it on the backside.
And half the time it's just people, or like your advisors or your mentor is being so picky because they know you can do it. Like Miss Snyder, she always tells me, she's like, Chloe, I'm gonna be real picky, don't get mad. Just because she knows that, you know, there are these little things that'll make a song like sparkle a little extra, and she knows I can do it. So why not be picky and tell me, you know? Just you might as well throw everything in there and just say, here, like, this will help.
Yeah, and I think music is a beautiful place to shine a light on like the willingness to take feedback. Like I feel like it happens like in music and
a lot of constructive criticism.
There's a lot of constructive criticism, and you know that, like, okay, I was here and now I hear it here and it sounds better, and so you can sort of see how the feedback has an impact, and then the willingness for everyone to translate that to other places of your life. Like, of course, if this person like cares about me and they're taking the time to give me the feedback, it's not because they're mad or they are trying to like tear me down. They just want to see me improve and get better.
I mean,
that's powerful.
Even this morning we had a Blue Notes rehearsal, the a cappella group I'm in, and I start the song just myself. So like it's Faithfully, the song by Journey, And so I'll start the song, and then, about a page in, then the background vocals will come in. But, for that first minute, I'm very exposed. It's kind of scary. And in rehearsal today, I got my starting pitch and everything. But when I started singing, everybody looked around. They're like, Chloe, that was wrong. You're sharp. And, like, that's embarrassing, just being told by 17 people you're out of tune.
Yeah.
But, I just kind of had to be like, oh, you're right. And then you do it again, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But, they don't see it as like, oh, Chloe, that sounded horrible. They just saw it as like, oh, Chloe, you're a little sharp. Just lower the pitch a little bit, right? And they just want to help. So it seems scary, and it is. But it is a good experience that will make you stronger.
Yeah, it's hard to take feedback. I mean, I still
it is.
I welcome it, but it's still sometimes hard to pivot in the moment. Yeah. So what's something that you found, and we talked a little bit about this in some coping strategies, but stress is something that increases in middle and high school, and in reality, it continues to, it's just a presence as a human being. And so what are your best options when you think about managing stress?
Me personally, I guess what I mean, I'm sure this doesn't work for everybody, but I go to, yoga. Like, I think things to release whatever pent up stress or energy I have in my body really helps. Just like stretching, yoga, going on a walk.
Does lifting do that? Like working out as well for
honestly,
you?
Honestly, and maybe that works more as a distraction because I'm thinking about, form and whatever, and just, whatever. I'm not thinking about what's stressing me out. But when it gets to, academic stuff, I tend to slow down first off. To-do lists help me so much. Even if you think you have it down in your head, I encourage.
Post-it notes all over the place.
I encourage just writing it out and physically having a box to check off. Like, if you can get yourself a cute set of markers or like a little journal that helps keep you accountable, just having the ability to cross through and check something off, it'll like mentally help you.
It feels so good. Like I do a post-it note.
At the end of the day.
Like line iteming that thing on this post-it note. I'm like,
absolutely.
Yes. And Google, like you get in Google Docs, like put the little check marks if you want to do like a digital version, but like anything that strikes through, like, yep, I did that.
And
feels good.
I find that breaking it down, like in terms of academics, like, yes, if you want to break it down into like, okay, I'm going to do my history homework first. Honestly, I think our brains can get real tired of the same subject, and I do encourage like maybe 20 minutes of history and then switching to another gear. That doesn't mean you have to study for hours on end. I mean, I think taking breaks is normal and welcomed, and our brains kind of need that refueling time. But I do think maybe, but this doesn't really apply to everyone, because some people I know just like it makes more sense to like do the entirety of one homework assignment before moving on. But I guess for me personally, I would rather do like 5 questions of one assignment and then switch gears.
Because I know some people can, because they focus on the one thing, then, thinking of ADHD and you personally as a learner, you will get distracted. So you may sit for that thing for 2 hours when it should have taken you 45 minutes. If you would have just taken a break and went and did something else and shifted gears, you can come back to it and get it done faster.
And like being able to use that to your advantage. I mean, I know ADHD is a struggle and it's hard, like especially when you get stuck into like this productive rut. But I do think that using it, a lot of ADHDs, you just have so much going on in your head at once. You're thinking about your English, your history, your math. So if you can, first off, it's kind of impressive that we can think about that much at once. Right. So you might as well use that to your advantage and, try to get some good out of it.
Yeah, and they may seem like a disadvantage, but they often turn into superpowers, and they're disadvantages in an academic environment.
So true.
Which the rest of the world doesn't operate that way. There are so many entrepreneurs and founders of companies that are dyslexic and that are, all these things that,
you'd think
can turn into a superpower, but they've overcome those things, and they have, tools in their toolkit that they can use that other people don't.
And it's hard because a lot of times in the school system, I feel like it's a lot of, like no chewing gum, no earbuds. Okay, well, no like music playing, that one I understand, but like I just have silicone earplugs that I'll put in that don't play any music, and it just like helps quiet the sound of the clock or the sound of the person next to me breathing, so it's hard to kind of deal with those issues in a public setting, but
there's a lot less regulation out in the real world, right? Like a lot less of sort of the micromanagement where you can do what you need to
free will
be, successful and function. And cool. So let's talk about you brought up AirPods, but technology. So I'm just curious what your relationship with technology over the last 5 years, and that can be Chromebooks, that can be cell phones, that can be social media, that can be the whole gamut of things. What does technology in your life look like, and what kind of advice would you offer?
Okay. Just like technology in general, when I think about that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not good at that. Mostly because, like, if I'm working with my freshman students and Miss Snyder would be like, oh, hook up your phone to the Bluetooth, start playing some music for them. Okay, I'll try my best. Like, I'm just not good at that stuff. But when it comes to, of course, like the technology on our phones, like to my grandpa, I'm a master, you know. But I think I use it literally every day. I think it is not something that we should be afraid of. I think it's a tool we can use to our advantage. And I notice that a lot more in my classes is so many more of my teachers. I mean, maybe this is just a senior teacher thing. And, you do have more freedom and trust.
Because you're literally going to leave and go out in the world and do what you want to and need to, right? So,
So they are becoming more trusting of technology, and I think it's huge to our advantage. And things like Chat GPT and AI now, crazy. And I actually I saw a video that was saying in the past, 200 years, we have excelled more as a society in terms of technology than we ever have. Just, it's kind of this, I got to think back to my math here, like X something relationship, exponential. There we go. It's kind of this exponential graph where we didn't make much progress, and then suddenly we have AI. Now we have AI creating videos that look pretty realistic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So the AI thing, I mean, it kind of blows my mind. And I take a similar approach in my mindset as a human and as a teacher of I'm not afraid of technology. Like I don't want to like ban technology or get rid of it. It's a part of your life. So even like, ChatGPT, all those things, I think they should be open. We should be talking about them. How do we use them as a tool, not a crutch? But it's wild when you think about, so AI has digested all of human creation and content in essentially like a year. Like you think about ChatGPT, that it literally has consumed that, and then it's now creating content. This is where my brain goes. Yeah. It's now creating content that is going out into the collective, and a lot of, whether people are owning it or not, a lot of the stuff that's being creative has AI embedded inside of it, and it can now write music, and so music's being produced by it, and so it's now. It will be digesting its own content as it makes new content, which is kind of wild to think about. And it will impact our culture because, music and TV and video and all that is what sort of makes up our culture. And so it's now creating that stuff and to where it will have an impact. Like that's wild to think about.
And I like that you brought up music there. Actually, this past weekend, I was up in Cleveland for a little a cappella festival. I went with the Blue Notes. And there were a lot of like master classes going on there just from different experts that they had. And the topic was like how to sing with emotion. This was the class I attended. It was just a 40-minute lecture. And one of the questions that was asked at the end was, in this world of AI creating music, how can we ensure that there's still this human aspect to it? Like, when AI creates music, it's kind of taking the humanity out of it, or like the emotional part out of it. And then I guess his response was very thorough. I mean, you could tell he's a very smart man. He just kind of broke it down in the sense of if we are human, right, and we created AI, then it's still human.
Sure.
And what makes music, sure, like there's a melodic structure to it, and we can look at a piece of music and say, yep, this is sheet music, but what really makes it music is the emotions that you feel because of it. Music is actually we're singing this song called Musica in a different language, and the lyrics literally translate to music is in the tear of a mother, music is in the voice of a mother singing to her baby, music is in the rainforest. Right. It's like the feeling that we derive from music is what makes it so powerful, you know?
And
So.
and all of that, then, you know, and I break it back down to poetry, like it's lyrical poetry essentially, which is the human experience. And I would advocate that, like, I can't go write a poem right now and think that it's completely my own. Like, it is part of a collective human experience, and all the other literature and poetry that I've read and the music that I've listened to, and all that gets filtered and synthesized through my brain. And then I can't help but have that influence anything that I compose or create. And essentially AI is doing the same thing. It's using human experience and all the content that has been created by humanity to then create and compose something, whether it's music or poetry. And so it has the humanity embedded in it because it was digesting other. So yeah, I would agree with him, even though it's also kind of weird. And it's also like, you can't connect to who the artist was, because which I think, you know, that there is something there of like what happened to them personally that then I wrote this because, but a lot of music, that doesn't matter. Like, once the composer has let go of it and it's out in the world, I listen to it based on my human experience and what I'm experiencing, and the emotions come from my connection to that, not to the experience they had when they lived it, I guess. So, you know, maybe it's not that different.
Why do we turn on sad music when we're sad? You know, it's just this kind of phenomenon, you know, that maybe we don't understand yet.
Yeah. Are you good at like regulating technology, like social media, and are you pretty?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on social media a lot just because I know it can be damaging for your mental health, and honestly, it doesn't entertain me that much.
So do you have any tips for that? Because I don't think that's the norm. Like, is that just who you are, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed Instagram until I was 13, which is like a good age. I feel like that's pretty standard. But I never really got into it. Like, I don't even have a profile picture. Like, that's crazy.
Is that common? Like, the people that you hang out with, is that or are they on?
No,
they're pretty much on social media.
They're definitely on social media.
But you don't feel excluded because you're not?
Yeah, I do sometimes, but I also remember that the things I'm being excluded from are hate, and you know, I'm excluded because like I'm on it, so I can see people's posts, and like maybe I don't have like as many friends as them on social media, but number one, quite frankly, I really don't care. You know, is that really the biggest priority in my life?
Yeah.
And number two is, you know, sure, maybe they're being exposed to the highlights of everybody's life, and that's cool to see, but that also means that you're only seeing the good parts, and then subconsciously you're thinking, wow, this person's life is great all the time. You know, mine must really stink.
Yeah.
But that's just because people only post their highlights, you know, and it's hard to remember that. And that's part of why I just never got into it, is because I knew that it's a slippery slope. And so why risk, you know, not feeling confident about who I am as a person when I can just simply avoid it.
Yeah, I like the deliberate choice of that sure, I'm missing out on some things, but that as a deliberate choice, that's okay, because I'm choosing to miss out on some of the other things that I know are negative.
Yeah, right, exactly.
For sure. Cool. Last question.
Okay.
Anything, last moments, last pieces of advice, anything that listeners, middle school, high schoolers should start doing now that would better prepare them for when they're sitting where you are in a few years?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think a great goal that I gave myself that has gotten me to where I am comfortably now is I want to be the type of person who people feel comfortable around. You know, and I choose comfortable not because I want them to be happy, because happy is great, but I also want people to be sad. I think it's important to feel these emotions. I think anger, these are all normal things that we need to express. And I just want to be that person that people can come to me with problems. People can come to me with happy things and sad things, and maybe people are looking for advice, but maybe they just want somebody to listen.
Yeah.
And I think if your goal is to be someone who can normalize wearing a coat in 0 degree weather into the school building, or being the person that's kind of like, oh, you think he's cute? Yeah, sure, just go ask him on a little coffee date. Nothing weird about it. Or just kind of being like, oh, you want, actually, I have a friend who would always have me walk up to the lunchroom with her because it just made her uncomfortable walking up by herself, and I get that. It's, you know, there's kind of feels like, it feels like there's a lot of eyes on you. So you know what? I'll go with her. I mean, it was 2 minutes out of my day, and I think just being that person who can help somebody will not only help you, but just like society as a whole. You know, you're normalizing things that need to be normalized.
I like that. It's like the reverse side of the coin of your earlier statement of like be unapologetically you, but then also be the person who is okay with other people being unapologetically them.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
you've got to like make space for that if that's truly what you're advocating for. So that's the other way of looking at it. It's like I just accept people as they are, where they are, for what they need.
Exactly.
It's good. I like it. And if everyone did that, I mean, truly, if like, because when you don't do that, that's where judgment comes from. That's where like all the negative sort of experiences come out of. Like as a middle schooler, if we could do more of that, like just accepting people, who they are and what they are, that'd be a pretty happy place.
Yeah, I do agree.
Cool.
I completely agree.
I like it. All right. Well, we did it, Chloe. Thank you so much. Yep.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
Me.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time. And I look forward to hearing about you walking the campus of Miami. I think maybe it sounds like Gabe and you might be enemies here.
I know.
OU and Miami.
I know. Yeah. Red Hawks for the win.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
As always, thank you to my guests for taking time to sit down and share their experience with us. A shout out to Augie Husto for creating the original audio used in this episode. Another shout out to all my listeners. In a content-rich world, I am humbled by those who take the time to hear the reflection, introspection, and advice offered inside these recordings. I truly believe this podcast has made me a better teacher, father, and overall human being. I hope you find that to be true as well. Until next time, be kind, be grateful, be you.